You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, along with former England fast bowler Steve Harmison for the usual mix of news, views and interviews. England desperately need to bounce back in the Ashes as they prepare for the pink ball test at the Gabba this week. We'll hear from England captain Ben Stokes. And Code Sports cricket writer Daniel Cherny joins us to discuss the news from the Australian camp as Travis Head again puts his name forward to open the batting. Kent's head coach Adam Holioake joins us live from the Gold Coast to discuss his involvement with the England Lions. The South African great Dale Steyn looks back at their Test series clean sweep in India, and we'll round up some of the week's other big stories. And of course, we'll finish with the final word. So plenty to come over the next hour. This is Following On. Well, Harmy, Mark Wood has been ruled out of the second test due to a knee injury. Who comes in? Who replaces him? Do they go with Matt Potts, Josh Tongue, Shoaib Bashir, or Will Jacks? And the Australians are talking about leaving out Nathan Lyon. It caused a bit of a backlash. They said, he's got a great record at the Gabba. Spin bowlers enjoy the bounce at the Gabba. And so, the last time England played a pink ball test was in Adelaide. Joe Root, David Milan and Ollie Robinson ended up bowling some spin. So I don't know. I mean, you might think it's straightforward. I've got this funny feeling that they might be thinking about Will Jacks.
Yeah, I think that I've got it written down here. I've got Jacks in my team. I think Jacks might play. I think he gives you a little bit more. Not that you want to strengthen the batting off the back of being blown away in second innings, but if you're going to need a little bit of spin, you might as well go Jacks because he gives you a lot of batting. He gives you a lot of fielding, a lot of batting, and a little bit of spin. Is Jacks' spin bowling as good as somebody like Joe Root's? Probably on par, similar. So I'd be tempted if it comes to the spin department, then I'd go with Jacks. You got Potts and Tongue, two different types of bowlers. Do you need Potts? Because if he doesn't, we'll use the new ball. So if Potts doesn't use the new Kookaburra ball, is there any point playing him? Because you're better off playing Tongue, who probably doesn't need the brand new ball. And what I mean by that is you've got Atkinson and Archer, who are going to open the bowling and bowl with a brand new ball. So these are the things that I'd be thinking of. I'd be tempted to leave Atkinson out and play Jacks, Cars, Potts, and Archer as an attack. And then you give Potts a new ball. You've got a bit of Cars to come behind him. You've got Stokes, then you've got Jacks as well. But I think if England are going to go down the route of playing Atkinson as well, because look, he started very well in the first innings, and then it was tough for everybody in the second innings. And you want to give him another chance, you give Gus a chance. So if Atkinson plays, I think you've got to go with Tongue, because then you will have somebody that can bowl at the tail and somebody that can bowl with the ball 12 overs old as opposed to brand new. So these are the conundrums that I think I'd be thinking of if I was trying to pick this team. Because if Atkinson plays, there's no point picking Potts because he's a newish ball bowler. And I think I'd rather have a big fast bowler who can knock a tail over in Josh Tongue if I've got Atkinson bowling with Archer at the top. So as well as Cost. So they're the conundrums from selection point of view. I'd personally go with playing, Will Jacks. I feel as though I possibly need a little bit of change of direction. And it'll be a case of whether the fielders are Atkinson or Cost did enough to stay in the side to play with Archer from that first test match. I suggest it will be. So if it is going to be a change of direction, it might be Cost for Wood and only change. So as we know, the batters are never going to change. So that would be something they'll be thinking of. I don't think Bashir's in the equation. I don't think Bethel's in the equation. But I think everybody else in the squad are the 14. I would imagine will be having 13 because obviously no Wood. I think the other 13 will definitely be in the conversation of how we make the balance of the side work for the day-night test match.
Will Jacks at 8. Wow.
That's a powerful unit. But at the end of the day, you've still got to get 20 wickets. And you've got to find a way of getting Head out, whether he bats at first or he bats at 5. So these are the I would imagine the conversations they're having on how they're going to get 20 wickets, because at the end of the day they need to win. And this has got to get them back into the series. There's been a lot of noise. Some of it has been blown out of all proportion. I feel now I've had a week to think about it. Some of it has been ramped up and been blown out of all proportion. A lot of people have had their say. Some of them are relevant. Some of them are completely irrelevant. And I think it's now just a sort of time to breathe and give England the best chance, hopefully, to go and wrestle back momentum to going into obviously what is going to be a very, very difficult period once the first Test match in Adelaide starts. But if England are 2-0 down, that's it, game over.
Okay, let's hear now from Ben Stokes. They came in for plenty of criticism, as you just mentioned, after last week's 2-day, 8-wicket defeat at the Optus Stadium in Perth. But he has urged the England fans to stay with them as they aim to level the series this week.
It's a results-based job that we're in. We love our fans. We know we've got an incredible fan base who come out here and support us, and they want to see us win. We want to win. We're absolutely desperate. They're absolutely desperate. So, in terms of that wavelength, we're all on the same wavelength. But we know that there'll be a lot of disappointed fans in England after that first defeat. But it's a 5-game series. We've got 4 games to go. We've lost the first one. We're absolutely desperate to, come home with that goal before we even started the series, which is to win the Ashes. And we'll be doing absolutely everything within our powers and using our time as best to allow us to go out there to try and achieve that goal.
That's England captain Ben Stokes. The history isn't good, is it? Australia have won 13 out of 14 pink ball tests, day-night tests, around the world, mostly in Australia. England have won only 2 out of 7. It's a daunting record. I mean, I'm sure that Brendan McCullum will say that, well, we're out to change history. But Mitchell Stark's got something like 80 wickets at 14 or something with the pink ball. Why are they so good at day-night cricket?
I just think they've got, the qualities that they have. They've got a bowling attack. It's not just day-night cricket. I think it's in all cricket, but I think in the day-night one, Mitchell Stark comes into his own even more. I think his movement of that pink ball, especially early in a batter's innings, is very, very difficult for batters to start. I think, yes, you can rewrite history, yes, and everything that goes with it. The noise that's coming round, it's going to be a difficult task. There's no getting away from that. But we knew that before, we left home. I know Joe Root's had his say saying he doesn't think there should be a day-night Ashes Test match. I'm with him. I don't think we need that day-night Test match. A lot of the day-night Test matches is to sort of, I think, revive a lot of Test cricket in other series against everybody other than Australia, Pakistan, and England. But it is here, and there's nothing that can, there's no getting away from it. England, at this minute in time, have got to go back to the basic rule of the game of cricket and doing the patience thing, the simple things well for long enough. At this moment in time, they're not doing the simple thing well enough. And I think what will happen in the day-night game, if they don't do the simple thing and the basic thing well at the start, they'll get blown away, because there is more movement when you first go out to bat than there would be at Optus. Definitely more movement than you'd get at Melbourne, Sydney, or Adelaide. So these are the challenges that what day-night cricket give you. Listening to Ben Stokes, he's had his say this week about England. He don't mind. I struggle with what he said. I really struggle with what he said, because and it's not going against, going against the captain's words for the sake of it and trying to make a headline. But he said, I don't mind being called rubbish, but don't call us arrogant. I mean, I would mind us calling us rubbish. I really would. I would take offence to it. But the simple fact is, these lads aren't rubbish. They're the best cricketers that are playing in England. You've got Ben Stokes, the best all-rounder that England have had for a long, long time when he finishes his career. Joe Root, when he finishes his career, the best player that's ever played the game for England. Harry Brook at this moment in time, by the time he finishes his career, could be anything he wants to be. Archer Wood, barring injuries, they would walk into any England team in the last 30 or 40 years. These aren't rubbish. I mean, they're not. They're good cricketers. The arrogant side, I would say, they are. And I don't think he can dispute that. But I think you need arrogance to play top level sport. You need to be able to push your chest out and believe you're the best that you are. And if arrogance is not the right word, I think learning from your mistakes, what is the word? Because the simple mistakes that England are making, they're making time after time after time. Now, if that's not arrogance, it's a different word, and that's what we need to accuse them of. But they need arrogance to be the best versions of themselves in a big stadium and the spotlight that they're in. You need arrogance to be a top cricketer. As a team, they've got a bit of swagger. Don't mind that. But you can't keep making the same mistake, because that's stupidity. And I think that's what I think a lot of people's criticism have been thrown towards this England team. Has it been blown out of proportion? Of course it has. It's been magnified and it's massive. But they're going to have to do it quickly, because if they feel as though going into the next test match, it's going to get easier than what it was in Perth. Nah, it's going to get harder, because these conditions are going to be really, really difficult for players to start their innings. And that seems to be the issue with the England team. First 20 balls is the hardest thing for anybody to face in test match cricket. And it just seems as though this England team want to play their shots in them first 20 balls. And that's what's, constantly making the same mistake and them getting out in what looks, silly way.
Okay, just three things to say there. Ben Stokes looked shell-shocked and sounded shell-shocked, genuinely, after Perth, and did for a couple of days. He seems to have completely regathered himself now. And, that's really important. I mean, you said that you were concerned that the effect it would have on the rest of the team. I mean, he's such a strong leader, and he's completely regathered himself. The second thing is that, just as you hoped he would, he was completely contrite and apologetic about using the word has-beens. And he said, it was a terrible, terrible word. I should never have used it. I'll be one soon enough. And the third thing is, Harmy, a friend of mine, one of my oldest mates, went on a trip of a lifetime to Perth, and he's absolutely filthy. He sent me pictures of museums and pictures of him on the ferry to Rottnest Island, and he was absolutely bitter. But he also sent me photographs of Stokes and Root posing with England supporters, both in Perth and in Brisbane. And there was one particular one. There's obviously a couple of lads who'd had a bit of a lagery lunch, and you know how annoying it can be.
Yeah.
I mean, you still avoid those people now these days. Yeah. And there they were, Root and Stokes, posing with them and having a chat and not being aloof. And I just, that said an awful lot. That said a lot to me.
And that, for me, Manners, is why, if it's not, that's why they've got to have arrogance as players. They've got to have arrogance as sportsmen and women. You've got to have it the top level career. But I've said many times, haven't I, on this series, to you, on this show, and to you and to many other people, these are the best ambassadors that we've had for a long time in English cricket. They're not just the best players we've got, they're the best people we've got. But you have to have a degree of arrogance. And if it's arrogance that Ben's taking offense to because people are having a go at the way they play and the shot selections and shot executions and everything like that, then if that's not the word, then it'll be something else, a different word that's thrown at them. But the simple mistakes that they keep making is starting to annoy people, and then that's why you're getting the noise that you're getting. I was always taught, if you make a mistake in international sport, as the coach and the staff will get at you. If you make the same mistake for the second time, boy, you're on thin ice. Third time, you might never play again. I think Juventus coach Marcelo Lippi, I think he said, you make the first time, you'll get a stern telling off. You make it the second time, you're close to the door. You make it the third time, you'll never play for Juventus ever again. all these things that top individual, top teams and managers will have. And it just seems as though England make the same mistake, and then the same mistake, and then the same mistake, and it's accepted. And if that's not arrogance, then it's something else. I don't want to go down the road of saying it's stupid or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't keep making the same mistake and not be made accountable and not be criticised for that. And England only makes 3 mistakes. But unfortunately, it's the same ones. When they get beat, it's the same 3 mistakes that they make. And that, I think, is what's wearing thin. And if it's people calling them arrogant and Ben doesn't think that's the right word, then we'll choose something else. But that's the problem for me.
Yeah, well, the line between confidence and arrogance is wafer thin in sport and always has been. Just a reminder that Harmy and John Norman will bring you following on Ashes Inquest immediately after every day's play of the second test on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Right, let's get the latest from the Australian camp now from Daniel Cherny, cricket writer for Code Sports. Dan, great to chat to you again. Many thanks for your time. So Cummins and Hazlewood, let's start there, both out of the second test. I'm slightly curious. It seems to be that Josh Hazlewood's injury might be worse than initially thought. And yet, from footage that I've seen, Pat Cummins looks like he's absolutely steaming in, looking fantastic. I'm not sure why he's not playing in the day-nighter.
Yeah, man, it's been an interesting journey for both of them, and even some of the murky details surrounding both of their respective situations. I'll start with Cummins, given he's the captain, and we just touched on him. He was training at the Gabba today. I'm heading to Brisbane tomorrow morning just to put some context to this. This is talking to you Monday night, Australian time. But he was in the Gabba nets today. Our good friend Crash Craddock was all over it, watching him in action. He looked very good. Crash was certainly very impressed, and I think he's pretty close. I think if they really wanted him to play, he could well have done so. Look, they have left the door ajar to potentially bring him into the squad, as my daughter's head moves just across the screen there. But no, they have left the door ajar to potentially bring him in. It's not beyond the realms. I suspect they won't, but yeah, he was pretty close. So there was a bit of fun and games last week. It looked like he was going to be named in the squad the way the coach Andrew McDonald sort of flagged as much, said that they were going to leave it late. And then the fact he was bowling with the pink ball in the SCG nets made you think, oh, well, he's not going to be bowling in the Sydney nets at least. You thought he wasn't going to be doing that without some good reason, given it's the only pink ball test this summer. But no, he wasn't named. Hazlewood, there was a fair bit of doom and gloom about him for a while. I mean, initially, when he had that hamstring scare at the SCG, it was just a scare, and they said he was going to be all right to go, you may recall. And then 4 or 5 days later, there were reports that he was out of the first test at least with a more serious hamstring issue, and there were reports that it was potentially tendon related, that it could potentially even rule him out for the entire series. But the upshot now is that he was back bowling in the SCG nets last week, and looks reasonably good. Now he's probably a few weeks behind Cummins, so we're probably more talking about realistically the Boxing Day test or the Sydney test. But they're loath to rule him out of the series either. So look, the upshot is with Australia 1-0 up in the series, it's all shaping pretty well, given they've got 2 world-class fast bowlers on the comeback trail, and they're getting reinforcements rather than having players fall over.
What about the opener? Does Head go in first, or does he go in at 5? Because I think that'd be a massive thing for England if Head was to open a baton in the pink ball test.
Yeah, look, it's really good. It's a question that's sort of divided the nation, Harmy. It's a huge talking point here, and potentially it's especially what it means for Usman Khawaja. He's that whole dynamic is a fascinating one. Khawaja had those back spasms, meant obviously he didn't open in either innings in Perth, only batted briefly at number 4 in the first dig and then wasn't needed in the second. He trained today as well, looked reasonably promising. The main session is Tuesday night, at which probably that'll be judgment day in terms of whether he's completely fit to play, and then it'll become a selection matter, and then whether they back him in. Oh, look, I can't really get a really great read on this. I think it's a real 50-50 decision. I think it could go either way. I think the Australian public seems to want Head at the top. That's the prevailing view, and not exclusively, but when you see opinion polls, that's sort of the the way they tend to be running very strongly one way in terms of head opening and Khawaja missing out altogether. But, by the same token, I think the selectors were pretty keen to give Khawaja a couple of tests to start this series. And if not for this head spanner in the works, then, I think that wouldn't even be a discussion that he would be dropped for this test. But there is a bit of talk on that front, given how well the head move went.
Does that, if that's the case, does head open a baton? Does that end Khawaja's career? Is that him done all over? Because Australia have been looking for an opener for quite a while to replace Davey Warner. Now you're looking at two openers if you go down the route of Travis Head. So there's a lot more in this than just leaving Usman Khawaja out. At 38-year-old, his career's finished, surely.
Most likely, Harmy, yeah. I think that probably would just about put a line through him. I mean, I think that the broad consensus and expectation heading into the series was it was going to be his last. In any case, Australia doesn't play another test series till next August against Bangladesh before they tour South Africa, and they've got a bumper sort of 14 or 15 months ahead after that. And as you touched on, he turns 39 next month. His form had been dwindling anyway. Concerns against high-quality pace. He'd probably realistically just been hanging on for this series and had been probably benefited from the fact that there'd been so much uncertainty with the other opener. Now, mind you, Jake Weatherald has only played 2 test innings, and it's not as though he's absolutely set the world on fire just yet. Second ball dark and then a 23. It's hardly the sort of, it's not exactly compelling evidence that he's going to be a long-term opener either. So, there is potential that it could be quite messy if things don't work out for Weatherald in this match. Say they move head up and that's it for Khawaja. Well, they're probably not going to go back to Khawaja mid-series, I wouldn't have thought. But say if Weatherald's not going well, Mitch Marsh has been floated as a potential option. He's back playing red ball cricket this week in the Sheffield Shield for Western Australia. There's an Australia A game going on in which Campbell Kellaway and Matt Renshaw are both likely to play. Josh Inglis is thereabouts. He could easily come into the middle order this week if Head goes up to the top. So there's several moving parts there. But, to answer your initial question, yes, I do think that if Khawaja misses out this week, that has to be the end of his career, because you just don't recall guys at that age, realistically.
I was going to ask you about if Head does go to the top, will they play an all-rounder? Mitch Marsh, it seems to be. But I'm not going to ask you that because I'm so distracted by the incredible job that you're doing as an all-rounder, being a chief cricket writer and a dad at the same time. You're doing a fabulous job. Usman Khawaja was called to the headmaster's office, wasn't he? Didn't he get told off and was called in to explain himself for calling the Perth pitch a piece of SH1T?
That's exactly it, Manners. Yeah, it was interesting set of circumstances, and I touched on our great mate Crash earlier, and he is sort of central to this story, given that he was the one interviewing him on stage at the Usman Khawaja Foundation, which I should give it a shout out to because it does do terrific work. And I do want to sort of stress that Usman, while he has rubbed some people up the wrong way in recent times, he is, he does broadly do a lot of good for the community. But yeah, it was a eye-opening comments to say the least. I thought it was unlike Usman. Not to say he's not afraid to have his view. He's far from it. He's a very outspoken guy on all manner of topics, many much more controversial than the mere matter of variable bounce on the Perth wicket. But I just thought the decision to use that phrase, that was, to me, that indicated that he's not in necessarily the best headspace at the moment. I feel like that's the sign of a guy that's panicking, and that, I'm not panicking, but is feeling the pressure of, his test career potentially coming to an end, and so much conversation around his position. There was all that scrutiny around his decision to play golf in the lead up to the test, which I didn't necessarily subscribe to. Sorry, I think things are getting slightly out of actually, no, I didn't necessarily subscribe to that view, but it was. It was unlike him to be so inflammatory. It's one thing to sort of have a say, and if he just said, "Oh, look, I thought it was probably a bit tougher than Rajan Madagol said," I think no one would have blinked an eyelid. They go, "Okay, yeah, fair enough. You're allowed to have your view," but to use, and again, I'm not a prude, but to use that sort of relative invective is probably not a great look. Dan,
is it supper time or bedtime?
It's just about bedtime. My wife had tucked out, but we can keep going for the moment, unless it's too distracting for you.
Okay, finally then, why are Australia so good at day-night tests, and why is Mitchell Starc so ridiculously good with the pink ball?
It's a really good question, Manners. it's funny with Mitchell Starc. On paper, he actually doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would be good at the pink ball, because when I think of the pink ball initially, I think of guys who nibble it around under lights, who use the seam. That's not Mitchell Starc. He's a swing bowler. But I suppose it also, it moves around. It has that sort of comet meteor-like quality, the pink ball. And he's had enormous success with the new pink ball. I mean, he's had enormous success with the new red ball and the new white ball, for that matter. His new ball prowess has been extraordinary across formats and different types of balls. But in terms of Australia, look, ultimately, Australia's played a lot of almost all of Australia's pink ball cricket has been at home, and Australia's a very good team at home. So to a degree, you don't want to overstate how much it's just the fact that they've got home ground advantage, whichever ball they use. But I think more than anything, they've got used to the conditions. They've got a few players there that have very good records. Marnus Labuschagne's another one that goes very well in that respect. I think he's got the most pink ball runs of anyone in the history of Test cricket. But look, I think practice makes perfect. So it's very hard for these nations that come, don't play. And I suppose that was a big talking point with England not going to Canberra to have any pink ball practice. But if you don't come to, if you don't play pink ball cricket, well, how are you going to get any better at it? And very few of the other nations do play much of it.
Dan, just finally for me, because I know you got your hands full and quickly. If Khawaja goes, head goes up to the top, Inglis comes into the middle. I mean, Australia have absolutely obliterated Bazball as a country. Will they be guilty of actually falling into Bazball? Even if Mitch Marsh comes back in as well, because if Mitch Marsh comes back in, he ain't blocking it.
No,
so are they going to be guilty of Bazball themselves?
No, not known for his defensive prowess, Mitch Marsh. Yeah, there is a bit of that. And look, let's be honest, Travis Head, to be fair, he did use some discretion, particularly early in his innings. I think that was forgotten that he was 3 or 14. I think they were a bit spooked by him. England, they almost preempted his destruction and maybe didn't set conventional enough fields early in his innings. But no, I think overall, as I've actually now managed to get my daughter to settle just quietly. Of course, way too late. You're right. There's huge parallels there with Bazball, and there is a bit of, dare I say, if Bazball gets beaten by Australia imitating it, it would be a moral victory for England.
Right, as promised at the top of the show, we're joined now live from the Gold Coast by current Kent captain and I think Lions assistant coach, Adam Holioake. Adam, thanks so much for your time. What is your role? Are you assistant coach with the Lions?
Well, it's not bloody captain of Kent, I know that. It's, it's the coach.
Yeah.
My job is head coach at Kent, but with the Lions, I guess I'm a consultant coach. I was actually consulting the England team and the Lions, so I don't know if there's a shortage of money there at England, but they had me working double time. I was with the Lions in the morning and then the England side in the afternoon, so getting their money's worth. Keezy's always trying to get a bargain, isn't he, Harmy?
He is, yeah. He is trying to get a bargain, but he's getting a good bargain, to be fair. I mean, I'll come on to it in a bit. Fred told a story to me a couple of weeks ago on talkSPORT that, there was a couple of players didn't know. I think John Turner asked him if he bowled fast. And he said somebody had asked you, I think Matt Hurst had asked you, what you did you play cricket? So the youth of the day, they just got they've got no interest in history and what happened before that. How are you finding that, Smokes, being around the sort of the next generation?
Oh, it's amazing, mate. It's in all due respect to Hursty, like I did do a little bit of a disappearing act, didn't I, from cricket for a while? So I don't get the Fred thing, because like he's been over every newspaper, TV show, like not just cricket, like Top Gear, bloody everything, mate. So I don't know how he didn't know everything about Fred, but I was a bit different. I did a bit of a disappearing act straight after my career and took off into hiding here back in Australia. So I get that they might not know me. They probably don't. Back in our day when we were learning about cricket, we didn't have all the distractions they've got these days. So we had to go and actually read history books about the history of the game, because that was the most interesting thing to do. But with all they've got on offer these days, I don't blame them for doing other stuff. I'd play Minecraft and FIFA ahead of reading cricket history books as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the game against the Prime Minister's 11 at Canberra, the one that none of the England batsmen or the Ashes batsmen wanted to play in for understandable reasons. But it finished with a very good run chase, 309 in 66 overs, with runs for Emilio Gay, Tom Haines, and James Rue made 92 not out. It wasn't a very strong Prime Minister's 11, was it? To be honest, I mean, there was very little first-class experience there, apart from Peter Siddle, who's played about 1,000 games. What did you take? What did you take away from that?
Well, I wasn't there, but I know that what I do know is it's a wonderful opportunity for the young guys. Canberra, Manuka Oval has its own unique challenges. It's probably not probably, it is the slowest wicket in Australia. So I know that they were talking about having a warm-up game at Manuka Oval before going and playing the first test. And obviously, I was talking to Keys and I said, "Mate, that wouldn't be a good idea." Because when I was doing the same consultant job with Pakistan, that's what we did. We went from Manuka to Optus, and it was completely different. So it's interesting, the Lions come out here. I guess it's to see the next generation of England players to try and develop them. But I guess also, another part of that would be to try and develop their skills in Australian conditions. And Manuka's about the least Australian pitch there is. It's probably more like Lahore or Karachi or something like that. But it's still good, getting to play with the Kookaburra in the Australian heat, those sort of things. So I think that's what these England Lions trips are about for me. So when they do come back, maybe these guys come back on the next Ashes trip out here, they've got an experience of having played in Australia and all the difficulties and, the unique conditions that you come across in Australia.
Adam, the two sides went side by side. I'm not sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. So from a good thing because you get the best preparation, i.e. from the Ashes squad. You've got all the Lions bowlers, you've got proper bowlers coming at you, no net bowlers or anything like that. But from a Lions point of view, is it a distraction that you're in it? You're in the Ashes. I mean, you've seen how much what the headlines have been. Every podcaster's got their opinion. Every former player's got their opinion. And I think if you're sort of trying to ease the Lions into what international cricket could be like, I mean, it's a little bit of a cauldron and a baptism going in where it was in Perth for the sort of 2 weeks that you were there.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good thing, another thing is to find out, what are these guys' temperaments like? How are they going to cope? It's all very well being able to face fast bowling or, deal with the heat or whatever, but there's a different sort of heat, isn't there? The heat you get from media attention and how do you handle that? I think that's a thing in itself. So I like the idea. I think there might, arguably you could say there could be a blend where maybe they play one game against local opposition. Because I think no matter how many times you try and play those inter-squad games, they never quite get you at that. I mean, you can try as hard as you want, and but I think they never quite reach that really intense level. But I think there's so many other good points to come out of it. Like, firstly, you're getting to see the next generation against the current generation. If someone goes down in the main team, you've got a situation where you've got someone who's they're ready, used to the conditions. I mean, I'll give you an example. I played in the 2002. It was the year my brother died. I was out here just visiting my family, and I think every single all-rounder in Australia went down injured. Every English all-rounder. Freddie went home. Craig White got injured. And I think because Duncan Fletcher hated me so much, I was the last standing all-rounder. And he rang up and he said, "Mate, can you come and play?" I said, "Yeah, I can, but I'm fat and I'm in Perth and I'm not training or anything like that." He goes, "Yeah, but at least you're in the country. All the others are back in England." So
yeah,
that was...
I remember that trip. That was my first ever trip. And I mean, some of the conversations, we're going to go off topic here, man, and I expected to with Adam being on the show. But I remember the dressing room and it was like, NASA said something, and everybody sort of looked and had a yeah. And then as soon as you said something, Duncan Fletcher and Nasser Hussain just looked the other way, and it was like, what's going on here? I mean,
Yeah,
it was so blatantly obvious. But I mean, what a
they
time!
hate it.
I do remember a game. I do, man. I've got to tell a story. I remember a game in. Remember the game in Melbourne when they smashed it to all parts. Me, you, and Keezy were
Oh,
sitting on the bench. And you try, we haven't, because little bets go on, because Keezy's a gamble on it. And he was like, how many runs off this next over? And for about 20 minutes at the start, we're going 3, 4, 5. And by the end of the sort of 20 minutes hour, Gilchrist and Ponton are smashing it everywhere. We're going 12, 13, 14. And we're cheering when Australia are hitting sixes just because exactly the way they were treating Adam. So yes, it can be a good place to be when but it also can be a distraction as well.
and the worst thing about that, mate, was my dad was watching on TV, and he's like, "Why are you cheering for the Australians?" I said, "I'm not." I said, "I've got a game going on with Harmy here, and he's winning." Like, yeah.
Well, I've got to ask you about Zack Crawley, and the noise around his place. I mean, I suppose he must be used to it now. It's been going on for years, but he was a key part of the new approach to Test cricket. He was always earmarked in for this tour. He's obviously made a pair in Perth. Is his game suited to Australian conditions? I mean, he's magnificent. He's one of the best in the world when he gets going, as Brendan McCullum says. But I
Yeah.
mean, I guess you must have got to know him a bit. Will it be getting to him?
Um, oh, look, I think you're not human if it doesn't get to you a little bit. I think what you're asking though is, will it get to him enough to disrupt his game to the point where he's going to not be able to perform? I don't think so. I mean, he's a underneath that really likable and jovial exterior is a tough kid. I don't think it'll get to him to the point where he won't be able to perform. There's no doubt that he'll be feeling pressure. I mean, anyone. I think I got if I got a pair down at my local club cricket, it'd be playing on my mind. So there's no doubt that'll play on his mind like any other person. But he's a very talented kid. His game does suit the Australian conditions. And going into that Test match, he did look really good. So that's cricket. You could argue. I mean, the other side of the coin is, you know, I know that they've got a tough job to do. The selectors have got a tough job to do. They've got to try and work out where you draw the line. And there's talent versus, being able to deliver. And, I know he's walking that tightrope at the moment, but I also know he's quality individual and a quality player, and I'll back him to come good.
Yeah, that sort of that tightrope and that tight line, I think it magnifies even more, Adam, when it comes to the big series, the India at home, India away, Australia at home, Australia away.
Mm.
Do you think the noise is being a little bit blown out of proportion? I mean, Ben Stokes has said, I don't mind you calling us rubbish, but don't call us arrogant. But you need arrogance, don't you? As an international
Mm.
top sportsman in that dressing room, I don't mind them being arrogant because I want them to stick their chest out. I mean, you guys at Surrey were the best at it because you were winners. You were good. You believed you were good, and you went and showed you were good. I don't mind the
Right.
arrogance. Do you think some of this noise is being blown out of all proportion? Because literally, if you've got a camera phone, you press record, everybody's got an opinion in the world. Is that getting worse? Is that getting to the lads? Is that being blown out of all proportion?
Um, well, firstly, this is the Ashes. This
Mm.
is like, there's bigger news as it gets in cricket. I mean, you probably got the Ashes, like you said, India, and then you probably got the World Cup. And those three things, they dwarf any other fixture list in the cricket calendar. So I think it's a good thing that these are the pinnacle of the calendar, and then the pinnacle of a player's career. I think it's great. So with that comes the responsibility of having to deal with the magnifying glass when it comes on you, and it does come on you. And I think if you take that away, then it ceases being what it is, which is an amazing spectacle, the best spectacle in the game. and the most talked about series in the game. You know, India, Pakistan would be another one, and that's what we love. You know, there's so many dead rubbers in sport, you know, like so much, you know, oh, we're not putting a full team out, we're resting our team here, or we're building for the future, whatever. When you come to Ashes, it's your best team on the park. It's you're trying to win. There's no win preparing for anything. It's like we're putting our best team out to win this. And with that, like I said, comes the responsibility of, you know, people are gonna delve into every little thing on and off the field. And if you can't deal with it, I feel like that's part of being involved in an Ashes. If you can't deal with that pressure, then unfortunately that's the way it is, and that's what we love about it.
Smokey, can I ask you about your first season at Kent? Peter Moores gave a great answer when he was congratulated on a fine season, winning the championship. He said it took 3 years. It was a 3-year project. So you've done a stock check now at Kent. You've seen what you've got and what you might need. You don't have the money that Notts do, obviously, so you might not be able to sign some of the players you want. But how was your first year in county cricket? Do you enjoy it?
I loved it. It was hard. It was tough. There's no doubt about that. I enjoyed the challenge, and I loved getting to know the guys. I mean, it was really tough from a results perspective. We didn't really have a lot to cheer about other than a quarter final in the T20, which felt like we'd won the World Cup. But there's so much to be happy about down there. We've got some great young talent. Like, honestly, like if there's a county in the country with better under 19 talent than us, I'd like to see it. So, we gave those guys an opportunity at the end of the year. We've got some other unearthed talent like Twanda Moyoya, who's coming onto the scene now through the 100 and stuff like that. He's a wonderful player, and I feel like we've made some pretty good signings. So Matt Milne's coming back. We'll make some good overseas signings as well. So, and stabilizing the support staff. When I started there, we didn't have a batting coach, and I hadn't had a chance to get my own staff together. So now all those things have been ironed out. We know the style of cricket we want to play, and we're building the squad accordingly. So, I don't know. I'm impatient. Morsey says it takes 3 years. I'll have pulled my hair out by then if it takes 3 years. But I'm hoping we can perform better this year. That's all. I mean, you just try and improve, don't you?
Yeah, we don't want you to pull your hair out. You're just getting it back.
That's a good advertisement for the hair transplant. I like.
Okay, before we move on to some other news, let's hear now from former South African fast bowler Dale Steyn. He spoke to another former fast bowler, our very own Darren Gough, as part of his new series, How to Win the Ashes. Here he reflects on the Proteas' clean sweep over India in the recent Test series.
I must be honest, it was a bit of a surprise. It's not easy to come here and win. And they came here and they did it in pretty dominant fashion, actually. So that's quite surprising. For any team, not just South Africa. I mean, so well done to them. But now the ODI starts, so I'm hanging around here until the 20th of December.
Wow, yeah. Well, home for Christmas, though. But I'll tell you what, just on that Test series, it is amazing because South Africa, the last few years, I mean, even when they won the Test Championship, there was like people saying, oh, well, they've had an easy run. They haven't played anyone. Well, I think they're starting to prove that they are actually a proper team. They've got not just fast bowlers now, which South Africa have always had, whether it be you, whether it be Donald, and now they've got Rabada. And they've got two absolute gun spinners. So they've got all the tools to win in India.
Yeah, 20 wickets. I mean, first thing I was ever told when I played Test matches is you want to win 4-day games, you want to win Test matches, you've got to take 20 wickets. And it's something South Africa have had for a while. We've had good fast bowlers, but now we've got two serious spinners. We always had one spinner that would kind of hold up an end. Paul Harris comes to mind when I played. We moved over to a more attacking spinner in Imran Tahir. And when Imran left, then Keshav Maharaj came on. But, before then, it was a Nicky Boyer, it was a Claude Henderson. They kind of had their job. as a lone spinner. They kind of did their job, allowed the seamers to rest, come back, attack, rest, come back, attack, and if they get a wicket or two, bonus. But now you've got two guys that are actually just able to spin a web. Simon Harmer, particularly from what he's learned in the county circuit. I mean, you take 1,000 first-class wickets, you're going to know how to take a wicket. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have it figured out. So that served him well, and the Proteas are now living off that. You know.
Absolutely. How's it been received? You're obviously out in India, right? And you've got obviously in India, you are like one of the like top cricketers that have been with the IPL history and everything about that. So how's it gone down with South Africa beating India? Because I mean, it's an upset. Let's be honest, it is a little bit of an upset because going to India it's as hard as going to Australia, right? Those two are the hardest two places to top.
Yeah. No, I think you set your goals out that you want to win, obviously, but it's not easy. I mean, jeepers, and I say that through my own experience of coming here. We were able to draw games, and when we won a Test match, obviously you want to play to win. You win the Test match. And then you just know that the next one is going to be, it's going to be spinning, it's going to be breaking up, it's going to be really difficult. And India had spinners back then that would just clean you up. You just had nowhere to hide. And I'm sure South Africa came here and thought, if we compete really hard and we figure out a way to score some runs and our spinners bowl well, there's a chance. But I don't even think they would have thought to themselves in their wildest dreams that they would have won 2-0. I think they would have, best bet is they would have gone 1-1, and they would have considered that to be an amazing tour, pretty much like their Pakistan tour. But to go 2-0, it's incredible. And I think it's been well received. Like everybody that I've spoken to, I'm in the comm box. A lot of people are extremely excited about South Africa. Obviously winning that World Test Championship. I think a lot of people wanted to see South Africa win a trophy for a long time, which is fair enough to say. And now when they win 2-0, I think they're starting to get like a little bit of recognition for the way that they played, because I think they also outplayed India. Not just one, but they like plans wise, everything. They seem to just, it was just one step better than India. So there's a lot of good stuff coming from the general public here about South Africa winning.
That's former South African bowler Dale Steyn, and you can watch the full interview with him and Goffey on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. He's commentating and at the moment in India, and he's doing a good job. He brings a different perspective to it, which I really enjoy.
I think he's a very good commentator, man.
And why? It's because he's not trying to be a commentator. He's just being Dale Steyn. Do you know what I mean? He's not. There's no cliches. There's no. He's just being himself.
That's what I mean, I try and be me. Goffey tries to be himself, and I mean, nobody can be ever any other than Darren Goff. I mean, he's even one off. But that's what you're there for, isn't it, Manners? I mean, the reason why Dale Steyn's commentating, because he is Dale Steyn, and that's the thing that sometimes annoys me. That people can try and make a name for themselves by saying ridiculous things, and I cliched this and cliched that. But try and be somebody different. If you've been paid to be the person that you are, why wouldn't you be the person that you are? And I think Dale Steyn's very good. I've been watching a little bit of that series. He was on with Sonny Gavaskar the other day, and Sonny's another one, very forthright in his opinion. He hates everybody apart from India, which is quite good, and that's Sonny, which is fantastic. That's why I love listening to him. Because he's so patriotic towards India, and he hates the rest of the world, which is fantastic to listen to. And I think Dale's a very, very good commentator. So, no, good for him. I mean, I've been out in India where he is, a massive name because of what he's done with the IPL. Ridiculous fast bowler, who I played in his first Test match.
Okay, just a couple of bits of news, and then for the first time in 5 years, we're going to have time to luxuriate in the final word. For once, it's not going to be rushed. So just a couple of news items. The PCA fears for player burnout after the 2026 schedule was announced. Teams will play 6 games in the first 7 weeks of the season. That's as normal. But they'll also play 6 county championship matches between the 20th of August and the 24th of September, which is pretty full on. That's a game a week. And the 50 over final. So there's that. Your thoughts on the schedule? David Milan, we told you he's leaving Yorkshire last week. He's signed for Gloucestershire on a 2-year deal to take him to the age of 40. That's a T20 deal, by the way. Andre Russell has retired from playing IPL cricket. He's become Kolkata Knight Riders' power coach. Make of that what you will. And Faf du Plessis, Faf du Plessis has opted out of the IPL, having played, I think, every year. Oh, he may have missed the first one or two in 2008-9. Anyway, he's decided to play in the PSL instead. He's 41. Take your pick. Any thoughts on that? How about the schedule?
The two careers coming to an end in IPL cricket is massive because they have been a huge part of the IPL. Russell and Dre Russell and Faf for different reasons. I think the power that Russell brings, and I think the calmness and the experience that du Plessis brings is there are different players, different types of characters, and different skill sets to their teams, but they've been effective in the IPL over the years. So that's obviously it's always a shame when somebody comes to an end of an era. Good signing for Gloucester, really is. Milan experience, but the schedule, I mean, PCA fear burnout. Some of us old fuddy-duddies will look at it and go, do you know what? We played a hell of a lot of cricket in our time. The guys before my time played a hell of a lot of cricket. The guys before their time played a hell of a lot of cricket. England play a hell of a lot of cricket. I'm a bit, why we're not playing during the 100? I'm really struggle to understand that because there's a lot of talk about that first round of championship matches after the 100, any players during the 100 would not be playing in it. So what are we waiting for the 100 to finish for? Why don't we just play it during the 100? We got to come to it. We are going to lose players now to that competition, and it looks, it looks as though that 1 month of the year, you're going to get a central contract now for 11 months of the year, because 1 month of the 100, ECB have got no control on you whatsoever. So why don't we just play during that? Why don't we play county cricket during that time? You've got extra financial reward. Each county got 24, 25 million. So why can't you build a squad good enough to get you through that month of August if it is the month of August, with a championship game or 2 championship games, and have enough players to cover to make sure that you're strong enough to play in that period of time? That's where I would look to gain extra days. By just completely stopping doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It really doesn't. That's your problem. PCA, ECB, players, administrators, your problem is it's a 5-month season now. Shouldn't be a 5-month season. Just continue playing. You've got a little bit extra money. Build a squad accordingly. Surrey have got 30 odd players, and everybody jokes about them winning championships. And they've got a million resources. They're one of the richest clubs in the country. They build a squad. They've got enough for England call-ups. They've got enough for IPL this and whatever competition that comes along. Build a squad good enough. Put 2 games during the 2 40 games during the 100, and all of a sudden you will not have 6 county championship matches between 20th of August and 24th of September. You'll have 4, or you might have 5, and that buys you a little bit of time. But when it comes to burnout, when it comes to playing too much, England were the best team in the world in 2004-05. We played 16 championship matches. And that 2005 summer, a hell of a lot of that 2005 team, I played 4 championship matches before that, for the one-day series. Didn't do me any harm. Didn't do any of the players back then any harm. And then when you go back even further, and if anybody, one of these young lads, want to say, you don't know the game, you don't old fuddy-duddy, you don't know what you're talking about, because of, that's what the England cricket team are saying now about some of the old players when they're talking about not going to Perth, playing on bouncy wickets. The game hasn't changed that much. It hasn't changed that much. If anything, it's changed for the worst because it's got softer. I'm not having to go at the PCA about this. I'm not having to go at the players or anything about this. But at the end of the day, in England, first-class cricket is played, and it's always been a very, very difficult, very, very challenging calendar, and it's been an arduous 6 months of the year for you as a cricketer, and that will never change.
Right. Okay, on to the final word. I've got 3 for you, Harmy. The first 2 feature India. I am staggered that there are still people in the world who believe that it's a coincidence that India and Pakistan are always drawn together in ICC tournaments. Back in 2011, when Dave Richardson was the ICC chief executive, he said it would be remiss, bordering on irresponsible of me and us not to put them in the same group together. The main job of a chief executive is to maximize revenue. I'm sorry to say, and so it's India and Pakistan have been drawn together in the same group once more in the T20 World Cup, and there are lots of people who say that it detracts massively from the credibility of these ICC tournaments. Did you see that India have now lost 19 ODI tosses in a row? The odds of that happening, thanks to Scott Taylor, who's done the research. By the way, he also tells us that Faf du Plessis played 14 seasons in the IPL, so he did miss the first couple. The odds of that happening are 1 in 524,288. The second longest losing streak in ODI cricket is the Netherlands with 11. 19 in a row. 19 in a row. Okay.
All I'll say with that, man, is thank God it's just a 50 over game where both of you bowl on the same day. If you had lost 19 tosses in a row as a test match captain, I mean, I think your bowlers would stop speaking to you after about 5. I mean, can you imagine that? If you lost 19 tosses in a row in test match cricket, I reckon 17 times you'd be bowling first on an absolute shirt front flat one. So I'm trying to see every cloud has a silver lining. At least it's in a 50 over game where the whole game's done in a day. I mean, if Michael Vaughan had lost 19 tosses as England captain, I think Hoggard, Harmison, Flintoff and Jones would have him against the brick wall and saying, right, you're captain on the field, but you're not going out in the middle at 10:30 to flip that coin because it's just not possible. Somebody else has got to do it. And I wouldn't care. It's not the same person that's been each time, has it, man? It'll have been Rohit Sharma, it'll have been Suryakumar Yadav, it'll have been different people. So they're going out with a double-headed coin and, the opposition knowing what's going on. So it's bizarre. And as for the ICC, I mean, yes, they're trying to maximize the competition, the revenue to try and get 2 games. In an ideal world, India, Pakistan play each other in a group game. And then at some point to try and get them in a knockout game for later down the line. That's the world in the eyes. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's right. But at least you're guaranteed seeing India and Pakistan a game of cricket in the world, because that is sorely missed at this moment in time. Once this Ashes is finished, where's the next big series around the corner? And, where India, Pakistan not playing each other. That's a crying shame. So we know what's for, it's political reasons. But yeah, I'm torn on that one. I don't think it's fair for the other 3 teams in that group, because India and Pakistan are going to be in the same group, and if you're drawn in that group as 3 minnows, 3 sort of lesser sides, then you stand very little chance of getting out of the group, because ICC are going to do everything in their power to not only get the India-Pakistan game once, they're going to try and get them out of the group to make sure that they play each other again in the knockout phase. So where the game's at, I don't know, man. Has it been scheduled? I know where England are playing all their games. England play Nepal, West Indies in Mumbai, Bangladesh, Italy in Kolkata. So the tournament's India, Sri Lanka. So where do India play Pakistan? Is it going to be? It's going to have to be.
It'll have to be Colombo. Yeah, it'll have to be Colombo. Okay, finally, Harmy. Back to Simon Harmer, the South African off-spinner, South Africa and Essex off-spinner, who took 17 wickets at 8.9 in 2 Test matches. This is quote of the year for me. He did an interview with Cameron Ponsonby in which he said, if the Grim Reaper of cricket came along now and said, it's over, no more, I'd go a very happy man. And, it's just... He's climbed the mountain. I mentioned you became world number 1. You took 7 for 12 at Sabina Park. You will always have the 2005 Ashes. You've climbed the mountain. Simon Harmer's 36. He never thought he'd get the chance to climb the mountain. And he's just luxuriating in the fact that That will always be remembered as his series. He took 17 wickets at 8.9. He went to India and took the wickets in India. I mean, isn't that just wonderful? Just to just lie back and go, I did it. If I don't climb another mountain, at least I know I've been up to a very, very high one.
Yeah, and it is, and I think that's a congratulation of all the hard work and effort that he's put in at Essex. I think, people might look at it and think, well, what's that got to do with it? And I'm thinking, well, he came out of South African cricket, arguably not as a nobody, but as somebody who was way down the food chain when it comes to it. He's gone to Essex and proved and worked hard and understood the art of off-spin bowling, lengths and lines and everything you had to bowl. You have to bowl a different line and length in England to bowl in India. And then he went to India and fulfilled all his dreams and conquered it. And you're right, yeah. When you get there, I'm not saying it's a long fall from grace. Mine was a fall from grace because I got a lot of injuries. I think it's different if you're a fast bowler from a spin bowler point of view. Trying to get back on the field as you get older is doubly difficult. But I think when you get to that point and you feel as though not so much looking down, but you feel as though not the best, this is the best I can possibly perform. And you're getting rewarded for it, because there's plenty of times where people in their careers will be the best they possibly can and a version themselves, can't perform any better, and don't get to the top of the mountain. I think when you do, it's so much more fulfilling, and good on him. I mean, he spoke brilliantly to us a couple of weeks ago. He's done wonders for Essex. I think he's been somebody that's kept a smaller county, and I'm being respectful here to Essex, a smaller county, a non-test playing county, in contention to win championships in the last 10 years. And I'm not saying it's the only reason, Simon Harmer, but when Simon Harmer leaves and doesn't play for Essex anymore, I mean, filling that void, wow, that's going to be huge. So good for him and well done. He was unbelievable in India, and it's the best place to go to bowl spin, but it's also the best place to go to get your confidence wrecked if you are a good spinner, because these guys are unbelievable players of spin. So to beat them in their own back garden, yeah, that's hats off material.
Yeah, he's not saying he's had enough, by the way. There's more mountains he'd like to climb. He's just saying that he's very pleased that he's managed to climb one. You've been listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, along with former England fast bowler Steve Harmison. We'll be back at a similar time next week to look back at the second Ashes test in Brisbane. But don't forget to subscribe to the talkSPORT cricket YouTube channel for plenty more content between now and then. But for now, this has been another edition of Following On.